Welcome to Lantec's Video Interface Edition 23, in which you'll be hearing from Compaq, from Memory Plus, from UB Networks. Guy Kewney's back, and of course we'll have Multimedia Futures as well. Here's what's in the programme. Hit the pause button to read it, and you might like to reset your minutes and seconds counter on your VCR now. Well, welcome to Lantec's programme number 23. First up this time is Steve Smith.
Our friends at Compaq are still busy evolving the desktop. With me today is James Griffiths, the product manager for commercial desktops from Compaq, to tell us what they've been doing. Welcome to Video Interface, James.
Hi, Steve.
What have Compaq been up to with the desktop range, James?
Basically, recently we've announced a whole new product line, the DeskPro 2000, 4000 and 6000 families, and they replace the previous ProLinear, DeskPro and DeskPro XL product lines. Right,
so the ProLinear's gone, has it?
It has, but the DeskPro 2000 still is a value product, which the previous ProLinear product was, although at a more aggressive price point, but still with the same quality you would expect from a Compaq product.
Okay, this looks pretty much like a standard PC box. What's different and new about it, James?
One of the new things, this is actually DeskPro 6000, but the 6000 and 4000 have a very easy to service chassis, so it's easy to get into the product. Basically, we have two latches on the back, and then the cover can just lift off.
Yeah. Still with the locking feature?
Yes, we have a device on the back which we call a cable lock provision. You can fit that, and it allows you to put a padlock or a cable through to physically lock the device.
What's happening inside here then? What have you done
Okay, inside again, on a security point of view, on the 4000 and 6000 we actually have what we call a smart cover sensor, which is a trigger switch that will alert a system administrator and a user if the unit is opened unauthorized.
Right. How does that manifest itself? Is it linked to any software?
What it does, it links in with our own management package, Insight Manager, although it uses a standard SNMP alert, so any package that can respond to that can receive the alert.
Okay.
The other thing, we've also made it very easy to work on the product, so all the expansion cage here can actually lift out without having to remove cables from the backs of the cards. We can simply lift all the cards out like that. That then gives easy access to the board, and the board itself can actually slide out as well for more access.
There's lots of engineers who will welcome this development.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like good engineering developments. What's been happening on the, as I say, the manageability of the PC?
Well, one thing we've done is all of the new products actually have a set of the intelligent manageability features that we had on the previous DeskPro product, hence the reason why they all take the DeskPro brand name. These features are designed to actually reduce the ongoing or the total cost of ownership of looking after a product. And they cover actually three areas. So there's asset management, fault management and security management. On the asset management side, which we have on all three products, we're able to report back various configuration and asset information about the product to either Insight Manager or other LAN management software packages, so programs like Systems Management Server from Microsoft, LAN Desk from Intel and so on. And we can report back a system serial number, an asset tag, model number as well, of the system unit, also of the hard drive, and also of the monitor as well, which is important as people are using more and more large screen monitors, so there's a higher value.
Okay. You said there was three aspects. That covers asset management. What about the other two?
The other two, fault management, which is features you'd normally expect on a server product. We actually have fault predicting hard drives on the 2000, 4000 and 6000 ranges. And they use a technology which initially we developed with Connor, Quantum and Seagate and called IntelliSafe. We've now made that available as a standard, and it's something that goes by the name of SMART, which is self-monitoring analysis and reporting technology.
Right. Well, when you say predicting, that sounds a bit mystic meggish. Tell us a bit more about that. That sounds quite interesting.
Basically what happens is the drives are constantly monitoring various aspects of their own performance. If those fall below certain levels, it indicates that the drive is likely to fail and gives us typically 72 hours notice before that failure. What then happens with the DeskPro is that alert is put up onto the user's screen. Also at the same time, that alert can be sent to a system administrator screen. And we can also use that to actually trigger a proactive tape backup. So as well as getting the warning before the drive fails, it is possible to automatically have a tape backup taken as well. And this is aimed at reducing downtime and therefore minimizing costs involved where there are failures.
Good. A powerful argument there. What about security then?
Security, as I've mentioned, we have things like the smart cover sensor, which gives a warning. We also have quite a high level of features integrated into the BIOS as well. So with password control, we can also control access via the parallel and serial ports, also through the drive access as well. And all of these features can actually be changed with an easy-to-use control panel interface through the Windows control panel. The other thing is there is a system administrator's password as well, which allows IT departments to actually set the security features how they want and then put another level of password on to prevent users accidentally or otherwise making changes to those settings.
Well, what's the availability on the range?
Availability on the 2000 is good and has been since the announcement. The 4000 we have most models available, and the 6000 availability is coming on stream now as well.
James Griffiths, thanks very much.
Thank you.
One subject that is gathering a lot of media attention, is very topical, and particularly important for corporate organisations, is that of the theft of memory SIMs. When you consider that one of these is worth several £100s, a pocketful can easily be £20,000 or £30,000. This is a very real problem because up until now these little things have been totally unidentifiable. But that is now changing. With me is Richard Burnett of Memory Plus, who's brought along part of his large range of discovery products. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, Steve.
Richard, what are the problems behind memory theft?
Memory theft has been a very real problem in the last couple of years. We've seen the major corporates being broken into repeatedly, a lot of memory being stolen, and the problem is that the memory is not recoverable. As soon as it leaves the premises, it can't be identified, it just disappears and actually comes back into circulation again as new product or replacement product back into the corporates. So we came up with an idea of electronically tagging the product and also making the product valueless if it's stolen, so that a thief may steal the product perhaps once, find that it's valueless when he tries to sell it, when he tries to do anything with it, and so perhaps I will stop him from stealing the product again in the future.
Indeed. So this electronic tagging, there's obviously a technology behind that, so tell us how that works.
Right. Well, the module itself has a RFID chip which is actually implanted on the module. This is a passive device which sits on the actual module substrate, and when a reader is placed nearby, the reader will excite the RFID chip and it will read out a unique encrypted code. It can't be changed, it can't be tampered with, nothing can destroy that code, and each module is unique.
Right, okay. So presumably these ID chips are very securely attached to the SIMs that they're protecting.
Yes, indeed. We've made it so that you cannot take the ID chip off without destroying the module.
Right.
If anybody tries to tamper the module, if they want to try and steal the chips from the module, because a lot of thieves actually steal the modules and take the chips off, what we have done is actually to put a cover over the top of the module itself, which clearly says that the product needs to be registered to the owner. And if anybody tries to take the cover off, they will actually pull off the chips themselves and actually render them unusable in the future.
Right.
So it has no resale value at all.
Right, okay. So these chips are now encoded, so we presume that this means there must be a national register, and that police forces must have the ability to read these codes. How's that going to be organised?
Indeed. In fact, we decided to use a particular type of chip which has been in use for several years for tagging of rare birds, rare breeds of animal, and it's been used extensively in the veterinary side of things. The Customs and Excise have the readers for these particular chips, and the police have been issued extensively throughout the UK with the actual readers themselves, and by the end of this year every police force in England and Scotland will actually have a number of these readers available to them actually on site. So we've made it our business to make sure the infrastructure is there before actually coming out with the product.
So this is making good use of an existing infrastructure for
Exactly.
a new purpose. in fact.
Exactly. As a matter of course, the police will scan computer products. Unfortunately, to date, when they scan, they don't find anything because nobody has bothered to do this in the past. We've informed all the police forces that we're doing this. In fact, we've been working very, very closely with the police forces, and it has been demonstrated to chief constables and various security people within the police force. They're well aware of what's happening, a lot of publicity about it, and with insurance companies also. So there's a lot of pressure for the police to actually do the scanning.
Right.
And certainly there's a lot of interest from the police because they're very, very fed up with the fact that they keep apprehending potential criminals who have product on the person, but they can't prove that the product's been stolen.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
Very frustrating.
For everyone. Yeah. Okay, so we've got the technology in place, and we've got the registers in place and so forth. James Griffiths from Compaq was talking a little while ago about asset management. Aren't there asset management implications to this as well, possibly?
We see huge benefits in the asset management. The fact that each module would have its own unique ID could link in very well with Compaq's asset management software. And we see it going even further. We're going to be coming up with a range of asset management products where obviously even monitors and other products can actually be can have this asset type of tracking attached to them. So that's in the future, but at the moment we're starting with the most stolen product, which is the memory module.
Right, okay. I'm sure everybody actually wants to see this work. You've got a reader here, and we've got some SIMs. If I pick up one of these, can you read the number off this one, say, for me?
Yes, certainly. Well, first of all, I'd like to point out one or two features of the module itself. This is the actual security cover, which has been specially made that it can't tear, can't rip, and when it's tried to be taken off, will pull the actual chips off the board.
Right.
It's important on the face of the actual cover itself. It says that it is a security module,
Yes.
and that if purchased without the required paperwork, the registration form, to phone the following phone number.
Yes, there's a phone number down there.
That's right.
Yes.
And in actual fact, if they phone that number, the module can be identified exactly who the rightful owner is.
So let's prove that it works. Richard, read the number on the identifying chip in this SIM for me.
Right. Well, this is a scanner. The police would actually have this issued to them. They would find somebody who has the product and read it, and it will come up with a unique code 024115546. Now that is registered to a particular company and can't be changed, so it would have been a positive proof that product does not belong to that particular person.
Our thief is caught.
Yeah, that thief is caught.
So, Richard, there must, I suppose, be a cost associated with this. What does this technology add to the cost of a memory SIM?
There is a cost associated with it, and the cost is probably around 5% or less, depending on the size of memory module purchased. But there's also a positive cost or price saving, perhaps, because the insurance companies are obviously looking at the possibility that this is a major piece of progress in the battle against the memory theft. So there could be some savings to the company in terms of insurance, or even perhaps even just being able to get insurance. A lot of companies are not being able to insure their computers because of this problem.
Right.
So we know of at least one insurance company who has who believes this is a major step forward.
Right, that's excellent. Richard Burnett, thank you very much for joining us
Thank you very much, Steve.
And more details of Memory Plus's discovery range from your Lantec account manager, of course. Now it's news time. Here's Victoria with this edition's Multimedia Futures.
Hello again. Shockwaves sounds better. Macromedia has a new audio technology that it says avoids the long download time needed to get audio from the internet. The new system plays quality sound off the web with a compression rate of 176:1. Macromedia developed the technology itself in-house. This comes as part of the new version of Shockwave. Macromedia say once it has been installed in the Netscape folder, the user can see animation and hear streaming sound with a click of a button. The new Shockwave will be available as part of Netscape's PowerPack software, Microsoft's Internet Explorer and Windows 95. Despite a stalemate in the DVD consortium over licensing and copy protection, Philips and Sony announced that they will begin licensing digital video disc technology. They say they want to enable the computer and consumer electronics industries to prepare for the market introduction of the new disc format. On the same subject, Toshiba dreams of winning 20% of the world market for DVD players and to hustle Hollywood into releasing its movies in the format. According to a report in the Asian Wall Street Journal, it plans to steal a march on the competition and launch its first player this October. Microsoft is moving fast to get its Internet Explorer web browser ahead of the pack. Internet Explorer 3 shipped on August 13th. Explorer will also be on Unix by the end of the year, with the same functionality as Explorer 3 on Windows 95. Initially, it will target Solaris, HP and DEC Unixes. A beta of version 4 is expected by the end of the year, with the final version 4 due in Q1 of '97. It will let users view disks at websites and vice versa. In other words, websites can be viewed as a folder tree. It will, however, require the site provider to hold a special sitemap on the server. IE4 will also have a facility called Web Check. This will monitor the websites and change the shortcut icon when things change. Some interesting news from Kodak. They have developed a new file format called FlashPix that apparently handles files at 10 times the speed on a typical personal computer. It is based on technology Kodak already uses in its Photos CD product. One FlashPix file stores the same image in several different resolutions. The PC automatically selects the image quality best suited to the task it's performing. Every image is divided into a series of rectangular tiles which lets the PC zoom in and work on a small area without the needing to process all of the image. In the UK, an all-party select committee on science and technology has recommended fundamental changes to the regulatory framework governing telecommunications and broadcasting in the UK. The Committee of the House of Lords wants to see an Information Society task force. Key recommendations include that all government publications providing information of widespread interest to citizens should be made available free in electronic form. The report also suggests that all green papers should also be available online. While the Lords were making that recommendation, the European Commission set out its plans to avoid Europe becoming enmeshed in conflicting internet regulations. The Commission's proposals are to require national governments to notify the Commission whenever they plan new legislation regulating the internet. They would be required to freeze any plans for 3 months to give the Commission and other members time to comment. If objections arise, they could be asked to postpone the law's implementation. And finally, a couple of brief items. Pointcast has reached its goal of 1 million registered viewers for its internet news service, only 5 months after it initially launched. It says it is growing at 250,000 new registered users every month. Microsoft is apparently considering a tie-up with Yahoo that would associate Yahoo's search engine with the final release of Internet Explorer 3. Microsoft recently showed Auto Search, which lets a user type search items into the browser's URL address bar. Auto Search is triggered by typing an invalid URL into the slot or by typing the word find or go or a question mark in front of the search text. But Yahoo said negotiations were still underway and it is not yet a done deal that Yahoo will be the search provider. And the last word this month comes from John Hart, Chief Technologist of the 3Com Corporation. By now he must be regretting saying, the intranet is just a passing fad. And that's APT's Multimedia Futures for August 1996. APT publish all this information and much more via the internet every fortnight. We are grateful for them for their permission to use portions of their material. If you wish to stay ahead, get it direct. Their internet address follows.
Multimedia Futures is available via the internet. Email info@apt.globalnews.com. Please mention video interface in your inquiry.
How often does your network fail? Do your users understand why you're investing in new technology and what the implications are? A recent wide-ranging report by Spikes Cavell, sponsored by UB Networks, tried to determine this information. With me today is UB Networks Marketing and Communications Manager, Debbie Coles, to try and shed some light on the subject. Hello Debbie, welcome to Video Interface.
Hello Steve, nice to be here.
Who did you survey for this report, Debbie?
We looked at people from across the whole spectrum of industries. We interviewed people from banking, finance, food and retail manufacturers, drinks manufacturers and distributors, construction people, the whole spectrum. And the kind of people we interviewed were IT managers, senior IT managers or senior business managers. The report was actually broken down into 3 phases. There were focus groups, which were discussion groups, about 10 people from similar industries who identified what we thought were the key areas of interest. And following on from that, we did 10 face-to-face interviews. And these then really identified what were the key problems and what were the issues that users were being concerned about. And finally, we conducted over 200 telephone interviews, again with business and IT managers, to get the quantitative data on the facts of what was going on within people's networks.
Okay, what were some of the more interesting facts that came out of this survey?
Okay, the most amazing fact to us was the number of failures within the LAN. We found that over 91% of LANs failed once or more often a year. And an incredible 7% of LANs failed once a day or more often. We just couldn't believe this. 7% a day.
So potentially hundreds of thousands of computer users every day experience serious downtime.
That's right. The downtime could be serious in some cases or not serious. It did depend on the type of network that people were using or the applications they were running on the network. If the users were just using the network for file and print share, then if the network goes down, it's an inconvenience. Maybe you have to go early, take an early lunch break, take a tea break for 10 minutes, or maybe even go home early, come in the next morning, you can catch up in the morning if the network's back up and running. However, if the kind of business is using the network for critical business applications, then if this goes down, it's a disaster. In some cases, we found millions of pounds of business was being lost. If your company was, for example, a share dealing company, if the network goes down, that's it. You're not dealing in shares, you're losing money. Or it could be someone like a direct line insurance company. Now, these people obviously require their network to be up and running. They have users ringing in all the time, and they want a quote immediately. If they can't get that quote over the phone, they're going to go to the next person on their list. And of course, you've lost that business. Not only have you lost that business, but all the business which may follow on from that through recurrent orders. So for these people, if the network goes down, it's a disaster.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one. Was it one of the findings that more and more networks are running the mission-critical applications of today?
Yes, we are finding that, and that was really one of the reasons why we did the research. The kind of companies that we are doing business with are the large corporates, and we felt that these companies, their networks were becoming critical, but we wanted to identify just how critical they were, what kind of applications they were running over their network, and what kind of implications there were if the network fell over in reliability, loss of business, that kind of thing. And so there is findings from the report really identified that we were on the right track, that large corporates are using networks for business critical applications, and if those networks go down, it's a disaster.
Well, one of the more interesting, certainly to me, findings in the report was that there's a bit of a gulf between the users and the MIS or DP staff. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, we definitely identified a serious problem of conflict between users and IT people. Users nowadays don't want to know about the network. They expect to come in and sit down at their desk, switch their machine on. They may have applications, if you think you can buy software off the shelf nowadays, that can create a presentation that has embedded video, graphics, text, charts imported from spreadsheet software applications. And you can very quickly create a presentation that consumes huge megabytes of disk space. And of course, once you've created this presentation, you want to share it with your colleagues. You may even want to email it around the world, which is very simple to do nowadays. However, you put that onto your network, you email it to those people, and immediately the network crashes because it just can't handle the kind of bandwidth that's being demanded.
Also, the user expectations and, to the DP departments was quite astounding as well.
Yes, we found that users were putting in requests to the DP or the IT departments for upgrades, changes to their network. And of these requests, only 21% were actually technically feasible or feasible in terms of budget, money, time, which means 79% of those requests are not feasible. Is it any wonder then that users are getting fed up with IT people saying to them, no, we can't do that, you can't have what you want? And of course this causes conflict all the time.
Yeah. Well, what can we conclude from that? Is it not only that we've got to push for better, more efficient technology with greater bandwidth, but also that there's some education for the users in setting their expectations maybe at a more realistic level?
Yes, if we could get both users and IT people to talk to each other to understand from the IT side what is the business in, what are they trying to achieve. Do they have users who require large bandwidth? Perhaps they could put those together on separate segments of the LAN. Do they have users who just require to print and file share, in which case perhaps they could be on separate segments so the two don't cross over and don't interfere with each other when they're working. We also need for the business users to understand about the network. As Anna said, they want the network to be invisible, which is why we entitled the report The Invisible LAN. And they just want to be able to use it and not have to worry about it. But if they perhaps understood more about the network, they wouldn't put such unrealistic demands on the IT department.
Tell me, Debbie, why did UB Networks sponsor this report, and did you get out of this report all that you expected?
Yes, we did. We were hoping to find out what users were using the network for. Was it business critical applications? Was it just print and file share? The reason behind it is that we wanted to be sure that the products we were launching into the market were fitting the business needs of our users. We tend to address the large corporations, and our product, the GLAN 500, is an intelligent switching hub with a non-stop networking architecture. Obviously, this kind of product can be installed into a network at the beginning of the network life cycle. You switch it on, commission it, and it runs for 10 years, and you switch it off at the end and decommission it. And we wanted to be sure that that was the kind of product that was required by users in their networks.
Finally, Debbie, can our viewers obtain copies of this report?
Yes, of course. If they'd like to get a copy, we can certainly provide some to you, and you can distribute them to whoever is interested, and we hope lots of people are.
Debbie, thanks very much.
Thank you.
If you would like your own copy of the Spike-Scovell survey, as we've just described, please fill in the replied paid card with this video and send it back to us at Video Interface, and we'll ensure you get your copy courtesy of UB Networks.
As you heard in the news, Internet Explorer launched itself yesterday. Guy Kewney already has his copy, don't you, Guy?
Well, actually, I stole a copy from one of my colleagues because I couldn't make the launch because I was on the phone all day trying to find out whether Internet Exploder worked.
Internet Exploder.
Internet Explorer is Microsoft's way of catching up with Netscape.
Indeed.
Netscape is so far ahead that Microsoft is actually paying 7 large websites large sums of money to make various secret paid-for parts of the web free to Internet Explorer owners.
Right.
Hollywood Online, for example, has a backstage area which you can only access if you subscribe or if you use Internet Explorer 3.0. And the idea of it is to show how clever these ActiveX controls are. Now, ActiveX is it's quite an interesting little controversy about ActiveX. Microsoft says ActiveX is the object model of the future and the way of embedding controls in things. People who've done this sort of thing tend to disagree. They say ActiveX is nothing more than OLE with a bit of signature stuff on the front of it. Now, the idea of the signature is that if you touch a page and download something which is code, the ActiveX controls check the signature and say, this is not something we recognize, do you want to download it? Which is nice in theory. What I've discovered is that this applies to anything that you look at. So I went to Hollywood Online, I clicked on the backstage, it says, in order to experience this wonder of ActiveX controls, you must now download QuickTime Virtual Reality, which I know I don't have on my machine. So I said, okay. Up comes the big ActiveX warning, you will suffer for this. Don't download this, your machine will, well, maybe. Said, do you want to go ahead? And I said yes, and down it came, and eventually I got to see a movie. The same thing happens if you go to Internet Explorer. It's you can find it. Go look through Alta Vista. You'll find Internet Explorer. It's there. It's a little page with an ActiveX control, which, when you touch it, turns your machine off. It's as simple as that. I mean, it goes through the Windows 95 controls. It turns the machine off. If it's running advanced power management, it'll turn the power off as well.
Right.
So it's clear that security on Internet Explorer is a little better than it was with OLE2. But I can't believe Microsoft when they say it's unhackable. I know too many hackers who say it's very easy to hack. We don't know yet whether Microsoft is going one day to have registered signatures of all the known safe programs, and then everything else is your fault if you download it. The fact of the matter is that the model of security doesn't match that of Java. It's a bit like having a bouncer on the front door for your party. He'll let people in if he likes the look of them, but he doesn't stop and watch and see what they're doing inside. And you come back indoors afterwards, you find the fridge is gone and the sofa's been used for immoral purposes. Well, Java will actually follow them around the house and watch them, and that's inherent in the way it's done. So I think you'll find a lot of people say that the battle is not over yet. Java is still the way to go. ActiveX looks like a risk. But of course, the launch of Internet Explorer is actually more important to Microsoft than the launch of NT 4.0, which is happening by the end of this month.
Indeed.
End of September, they should have everything out. And I'm quite surprised to find just how little they're talking about NT 4.0. If you go to their website, for example, you won't find NT as a major product announcement. You'll find it buried in one of the announcements of back office. Very interesting that. To Microsoft, NT is not as important as it is to the rest of us. And they're making prize fools of themselves over the internet side of that. They really are. They're trying to claim that you can't attach more than something like 15 users to a TCP IP session on NT Workstation in, I don't know, a minute, as if they own TCP IP. That's really quite funny. Actually, I lost the plot a bit there because I got this letter from Netscape to Microsoft saying, you mustn't say that you can't attach people to this because your product is much nicer. And it actually looks like Netscape is busy telling the world, go ahead and buy Microsoft products because they're much better than Microsoft says. I have just a sense of unreality about this.
Yes.
No doubt somebody will explain it.
I remember reading something about they just haven't changed the terms and conditions of the license yet, or...
No, it's quite deliberate. They actually wish to prevent people from using their workstation as a server.
Right.
And they've been trying to do this ever since they first announced that the workstation was a server and changed their mind. And they're still reaping that whirlwind.
Right, okay. You were telling me something about signatures. Tell our viewers about that as well.
Well, signatures, of course, don't just mean digital patterns saying that a piece of program is safe. You'll see people in aeroplanes these days busy filling in forms in the airline guides because they've got a little thing which offers to turn your handwriting into TrueType. Apparently it works quite well, but it uses a lot of resources in the computer. More Fun is a company up in Birmingham which is now doing your signature as you sign your check as a TrueType font. They'll also do your company logo as a TrueType font. Now, the logic of this, of course, is very simple. Large companies must have financial rules. It's very important, for example, that nobody over the rank of junior clerk can sign a £10,000 cheque. And so it is decreed that only board directors can sign cheques over, say, £2,000. Of course, large companies have to sign far too many cheques for this to be possible, and so technology to the rescue. You will remember the old rubber stamp signature, which was deemed, I wish I could deem things the way accountants can, was deemed to be a director's signature. Nobody could tell whose hand wielded the thing, but it was deemed to be a director's signature. Explain it, I can't understand it. Now you can actually get a TrueType font, so you can deem the fax which you send to have been signed because you embed it in it. And what's beautiful is, since it's TrueType, you can now do an italic version of your signature, and an outline version, and a shadow version, and even a strike-through version. Daft, but clever.
Okay, let's talk about Intel for a final item, and the multimedia extensions and chip date revisions and so on.
Yes, well, I think the PC makers are actually going to be astounded, amazed, because Intel has, for reasons which I can only guess at, decided to help them a bit. Normally, Intel's plan is, this is the way it will happen, that's the way it will happen, and if you don't like the sound of the drum, feel free to march out a step and get left behind the parade. Well, the plan was to have these MMX instructions, which speed up primarily multimedia applications, in all their machines this time next year, and all their chips this time next year. But the first machine that would get it would be the Pentium. And the Klamath chip, which is the Pentium Pro with MMX extensions, wasn't due to ship until March, which I suppose means April. May. So with the Pentium shipping MMX in September and the Pentium Pro not getting it until April, there would be this long thing in which people would have to explain to their customers why the supposedly top-of-the-range chip didn't have MMX. Now, there are good reasons why that might be the case, but they're not easy to explain to customers who don't understand these things. Now, Intel has decided, after all, to roll out all the MMX chips next year, and that means taking the Pentium machine and bringing it out at the same time as Klamath. I've searched long and hard for a reason why this might be. I can't imagine it would be anything as trivial as the fact that the Cyrix chips have all eaten the Intel Pentium chips in the benchmarks at 133 megahertz. Can you?
I shouldn't think it's anything to do with that.
Nothing to do with that.
No. Guy, it's been fascinating as usual. Thank you for coming and seeing us
Nice to
again.
see you.
And that indeed is Video Interface Edition 23. If there's any more information you'd like on any of the things you've seen, even including Guy, drop back the reply paid card. We might even sneak you his email address and you can talk to him direct. That's it for this edition. Cheerio for now.